Yep, the two numbers you multiply together to find a product. Thank you, sir. Alex J., can you read the goal for today, please?
Our goal today is to use our understanding of unit fractions to be able to create
Representation, that's a tough word.
Of a unit fraction within a rectangle.
Thank you, sir. So when we say a unit fraction, you guys think back to yesterday when we looked at fractions. Unit fractions are when you just have one out of however many pieces shaded in, right? Your numerator is 1. And they're called a unit fraction because it's just one unit of the entire fraction. So we're going to look at, here's an example of a lot of different fractions, and I'm going to shade in what would just be the unit fraction for each one. So if it's 1 whole, we would actually write that 1 out of 1, right? Because there's only one piece. 1 whole, if I shaded it in across, all the way across, would look like this. And I know I'm not shading it in like absolutely coloring every inch of it. If I'm looking at 1/2, the unit fraction, I'm going to shade 1 out of those 2. Remember, the number on top, somebody unmute, tell me what that number on top is called. The number on top of a fraction. Somebody besides Jay, I've heard from Jay a bunch today. What's the number on top of a fraction called? Starts with the letter N.
Numerator.
Thank you. It's over to the side, guys. It says a unit fraction is a fraction where the numerator on top is the number that represents the number of pieces that are shaded in, or the number, what each individual piece in the fraction is. The number on the bottom, anybody remember what that one is called? Starts with the letter D. We have the numerator and the something else.
Denominator?
Denominator, thank you. I don't know who that was. Was that Cynthia? The denominator. The denominator represents the number of total pieces across the whole fraction. So if we look at these rectangles, it's like almost like a candy bar shape, right? Imagine this is like a candy bar. So the 1 whole is 1 out of 1. There's one piece altogether, and we have 1 shaded in. For 1/2, we have 1 whole. It's how many pieces? CJ, how many whole pieces is that the candy bar with halves? The one in blue, CJ, how many pieces are in that hole? We'll wait. The 1/2 that's shaded in blue, how many total pieces are on that whole like rectangle, candy bar shape?
2.
2, right? And that's what the denominator is 2. So then we're going to go down to thirds. And I'm going to shade one of those in. What's the denominator in 1/3? Cynthia, what's the denominator in 1/3?
3.
3, very good, because it's on the bottom. There's 3 total pieces. And I'm going to go down and I'm going to shade in the 1/4. What is the denominator in 1/4, Eric?
What?
What's the denominator in 1/4?
Guess it's 1/4.
So it's 1/4. What's the denominator?
4.
4. Thank you, sir. Because why is the denominator 4 in 1/4? Why would that denominator be 4?
Because the 1 out of 4 is because the numerator is 1 and the denominator is 4.
Yep, I'm asking why is the 4 on the bottom of that fraction? Why is there a 4 on the bottom? What's the reasoning for that? I think if you think about it. How many total pieces are on that whole candy bar shape?
The whole candy bar shaped.
Yeah, the green one, the fourth. How many pieces is that all together?
4.
4 pieces, right? So the denominator is 4. Who can tell me? So I've shaded in now 1 whole, 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/6, and 1/8. What are you noticing about the unit fractions as we shade in one of the pieces? What are you noticing? Ania, what are you noticing?
I'm noticing that as one hole it gets to 2 holes and then 3 holes, it gets smaller.
Okay.
The piece is smaller.
So not 1 holes, because 1 hole, these are all the same size hole. So let me be clear. The 1 hole that's orange, if I shaded in 1 hole and I shaded in both of the halves, that hole is the same size, right? So the hole's not changing, the number of pieces is changing. So it's like saying if I have a candy bar and I eat the whole thing by myself, right? If I eat the whole candy bar by myself, I get this whole orange part, right? Because I'm not splitting it with anybody. It's just 1 piece. If I was sharing it with Miss Weibel and we cut it in half, we each get 1 out of the 2 pieces. The pieces my piece gets smaller because I have to share it with 1 other person. If then Miss Fleischer comes in the classroom and we share that chocolate bar 3 different ways, the piece gets smaller again, right? Because now it's 3 people sharing the same whole size candy bar. So all those holes are the same size, but as we cut more pieces, the pieces get smaller. It's like if you have a birthday cake, right? Let's say Guadalupe is throwing a big birthday party for herself because she's awesome. And Guadalupe only invites 4 people. They're going to get more cake than if Guadalupe invites 8 people, right? Because there's more people eating the cake. So if there's more people, the pieces have to be smaller because it's the same size cake, but now you have to share it with more people. Does that make sense? All right. That's why we'll take this one.
Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of practice right here. And be ready to participate because I'm not taking volunteers, I'm just calling on people. So we are going to match the unit fraction with the picture that represents that unit fraction. So we're going to start pretty easy and we're going to look at 1/2. So which picture matches 1/2? Picture number 1, picture number 2, picture number 3, picture number 4, or picture number 5? Alejandro.
Picture number 3.
Picture number 3. Okay, and I'm going to switch it up a little. Looking at picture number 1. What fraction is represented looking at picture number 1? Corbin.
Third.
1/3. Good job.
1.
Okay, and then we're going to look at 1/4. Which picture represents 1/4? CJ. Which picture
Mama.
is representing 1/4 as 1 shaded out of the 4 parts? Picture 5. I saw your mouth move. You must be having sound issues. I saw you say 5 though. Picture number 2. We haven't matched that yet. Jonathan, what fraction is represented in picture number 2?
Number 1.
Well, there's 1 box shade, so we're looking at picture
6 and 1.
6 and 1. Yeah. So what would be the numerator? How many are shaded?
1.
1. And there are how many pieces total?
6.
6. So that's 1/6. That's how you'd say that. 1/6. So our last one, Eric. Which picture represents 1/8? Picture 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
4.
Good job.
All right, so one of the things we're going to look at today now is being able to actually make a model of these fractions, to draw a representation. So this is where I want everybody's whiteboard and marker out. I want you to hold it up and show me you have a whiteboard and marker, or hold it up and show me you have a pencil and paper or a notebook or something. I need to see you have this because this is the whole point of one of the main points of the lesson today. So if you do not have one by you, go get it now, please. I need to see that you have this. Okay, most people have them. Good. So one of the reasons we're doing this today is we're not getting there yet, but eventually we're going to be working on comparing fractions, the size of two different fractions, seeing what fractions are equal and that kind of thing. And so to be able to do that, you are going to have to be able to represent fractions correctly on a drawing, right? You're going to have to be able to draw out a fraction. So today we're going to look at being able to draw out a fraction in a rectangle. So either a candy bar shape or a bigger rectangle. There's two different ways you can kind of show it. And we'll kind of talk about the different ways you can do that. All right, but most people have it. If you don't and you have something nearby, so like I see Eric and a couple other people I don't see with a whiteboard and marker or pencil paper, you need to go see if you can find one, please. You need one for the lesson. All right, so two things. There's a couple things to keep in mind when we are making a fraction or making a representation of a fraction. What are some things that are important when it comes, you think, to drawing a fraction? What are some things that you think are important when we draw a fraction? Ania?
Like the line has to be in the middle, not like on top of, like, it's not, has to be so close to the other line.
So what I think you're saying is, if you're going by like yesterday's discussion, that the pieces have to be equal. So we make a line, when we make a line, yeah. So fractions represent, remember, equal parts of a whole. So if I was, let's say I was drawing a half, I don't want my half to look like this, because even though I have 1 out of 2 pieces colored in, are those equal? No. So that doesn't really show that an accurate fraction, all right? So I need to make sure they're equal. I also need to pay close attention to the numerator and denominator and make sure that I have the correct number of pieces inside my rectangle, all right? So here's the thing about today. We're going to take some time to practice drawing fractions on your own and help make models of those for the future, okay? So you're going to need to be able to do this in the future. But I also want to focus a lot on really understanding how many pieces we're shading in out of how many. And today we're only working with unit fractions, which means on every rectangle today, if we're doing unit fractions, how many pieces are you going to shade in on every rectangle you make today? Show me on your fingers, please. If it's a unit fraction, no. How many pieces are you going to shade in on every single one? So whether you have 1/3, 1/4, 1/8, how many pieces are going to be shaded in? I see Jay and CJ showing me. I see Ania showing me. I see Corbin and Guadalupe showing me. Thank you. I should see more people. You can at least look at your classmates and notice. Thank you, Jonathan and Alejandro. Alejandro is giving me a finger wag. Thank you, Cynthia. That's right. You are only shading in one piece out of however many you're making. So on this first one, 1/4, let's everybody right now, I want you to draw a rectangle on your whiteboard or on your paper. So draw a rectangle. It can be longer and skinny. It can be short, but just you need a rectangle. All right. And by the way, I know that you guys are 4th graders. This is your first. I know that every shape you draw or every fraction you draw is not going to be perfect. I don't even get it perfect because I'm not up here measuring, right, to make sure what's exactly in the middle. But I do know it should be close to looking like they're equal, right? So this is 1/4. So how many total pieces am I going to have inside this rectangle? Denise, how many total pieces will be on the inside of this rectangle if it's 1/4?
4.
4, thank you, right? My denominator is 4 in 1/4. My denominator is 4. So I'm going to show you my fancy trick for making 4s that are equal. The first thing I'm going to do is take my rectangle and I'm going to draw a line right down the middle and split it directly in half. So I should have 2 equal pieces. Now there are 2 different ways I can make force from here. One of them is that I can draw a line straight across the middle horizontally too. Boom. And now I have 4 equal pieces. If I have 1/4, how many of those am I going to shade in, Guadalupe? If I have 1/4, how many pieces am I shading in?
1.
1, just 1, right? So right there is just one way to make 1/4. Now, I could also do it another way, and I'm going to show you that way below. Right? Everybody do this one as well. Go ahead and draw a rectangle either on your paper or your whiteboard. Because you may like doing it this way better, and that's fine, but we're going to practice as many as we can. So just like before, for force, I'm going to draw it straight in half, like I did before. Then I'm going to put each of those directly in half. So now I go 1 right here, and I cut that in half to make equal, and then I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to cut that in half, and I'm going to make equal. And now how many of those pieces, Alex J, am I going to shade in for 1/4?
You're going to shade in 1.
1. Why? Because what is 1 on my fraction? What's that top number called?
The numerator.
Numerator. Very good. Right? So I have 1/4 and 1/4 both there. Now, this will always work for the fractions that are even numbers. You can always divide other fractions in half or split them. So let's pretend for a second that my bottom one was 1/8 instead of 1/4. I can go straight across the middle. Boom, and now I have, 2/8. I need to change that. So if I was making eighths, hang on. Just so we're clear, you don't have to do this one. But if I was making eighths, I could do it like that right down the middle, and I would have 8 pieces now, and I have 1 out of 8 shaded in. Okay? So that is always making the rectangle. We're just doing rectangles. I know sometimes you see fractions in circles, and it's okay to identify them in circles, but circles are really hard to make equal pieces, especially when you're younger, because even I struggle with it, and I've had a lot of practice. So we're going to stick to rectangles for today. All right? Ms. Weibel's going to talk you through one more.
All right, so we're gonna try 1/3. And again, we're gonna do a rectangle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw my rectangle right here. And I'm gonna give you guys about 1 to 2 minutes to go ahead and try that on your own. Everyone should be doing this. You never know when we're going to take your work for points. Just saying.
Right now.
All right. Show me your whiteboards. Denise, thank you. Ania, thank you. Corbin, thank you. Guadalupe, thank you. Jay, thank you. Alex J, CJ, Jonathan, Kayla, I saw you showing me them real quick. Alejandro, I saw yours briefly past the screen. Even if you're not done, just show them to me. If I call your name, you don't need to show them to me. Thank you, Dunya. All right, if I've not seen it by now, we're not counting it. Okay, so how many, so we have 1/3. How many pieces am I going to split this rectangle into?
3.
3. And it's definitely tricky with 1/3 to try to get them even. I don't have a trick, Mr. Hoffman. Do you have a trick? We don't have a trick. We just try the best that you can, make them even.
Thirds is one that's going to be hard because you just got to kind of eyeball it because you can't do anything where you cut it in half, right? Now, the nice thing is if you do thirds, you can do sixths, right? Because you just have to put all the thirds in half. You can go straight across the middle. But thirds is one of the trickier ones just because there's no even number to cut it directly in half anywhere.
Okay, so I split my rectangle into 3 as equal as I can get them parts. So that's the 3 right here. Jonathan, how many am I going to shade in?
1.
1. Is he right, everyone? Let me see it. Thumbs up if he's right, thumbs down if he's not right. Everyone should have their thumbs up or down. He's right, he's right, he's right. I see lots of thumbs up. That is correct. We are only going to shade in 1. That's our numerator. We've got 1 part of the whole. I'm going to let go over their job.
All right, your job today. Okay, and we did a better job on the Dreambox lessons yesterday. I'd like to see us do a little bit more today, better participation from the people who are not in small groups. So the people who did small groups did a really good job of getting on and doing a lesson after small group. So if you did not yesterday, the assignment today is pretty short. All right, the assignment today should not take you that long. We wanted to leave shorter assignments this week to get some more Dreambox work done. All right, so if you could please, in fact, Mrs. Fleischer, do you have a few minutes available after the lesson?